her own society. And so the British Empire starts with her saying to her pirates, this is becoming so clear to me, and it's so interesting when you think, a lot of people today are saying these global corporations, ExxonMobil, they're acting like pirates. Just go into Iraq, huge oil reserves, and that's really what this is all about. It starts with pirates. The Spanish Empire is getting all of this gold and silver plunder, and so the pirates just, and in a sense, I mean, the morality of it is it's complex, because the Spanish stole it from the Indians, so to steal it from the Spanish at the high seas, I mean, is that a crime? In any case, Elizabeth gives charters to these pirates who become privateers. I'll just deface the book here. Pirates. Gives it a history. Privateers. So privateers, pirates is illegal. Pirates are sort of outside the law. But if Queen Elizabeth gives her favorite, Raleigh, a legal piece of paper and says, I, the sovereign, hereby entitle you to plunder Spanish ships, provided that you give me 30%. So that's how she built up her treasury. And of course, her great successful privateer was Francis Drake, Sir Francis Drake, who circumnavigated the planet. So this is how the British Empire starts. But Canada isn't the British Empire. Canada is Roman Catholic, French speaking, and Aboriginal. And it's not like Virginia. Virginia, of course, is agricultural, and they find that the Indian crop of tobacco is very popular. You can make a lot of money on it. But in order to grow tobacco, you've got to clear the indigenous people out of the way. And it turns out that, you bring in black slaves. So you kill off the Indians, you bring in the black slaves. The French Empire, the founding of Canada, is a different kind of operation. You want to do business with the Indian people. You got to make friends, you got to learn their languages. You even use an Indian word for the place. You call it Canada, which is an Iroquoian word. So there, in the 7 Years' War, in the mid-1700s, between 1754 and 1763, the British and the English go at it. They have a war. One of the places where the war is fought is in Quebec City, on the Plains of Abraham. And we know that Wolfe beats Montcalm, that the British Army actually conquers the French Army. And so Canada is no longer an Empire of France. And Canada is going to pass into the British Empire. And that's what happens. So this is all by way of explaining, okay, how is Canada going to be incorporated into British North America? And I'm trying to present an alternative view here to the idea that the American Revolution was all about tea and taxes and provide what I think is the deeper story. So King George has to deal with, how are we going to govern Canada? And Canada, of course, runs down here, goes off into, there's fur traders go off to the Rockies by the early 1700s. So in 1763, he attaches Canada to British North America, but he defines most of Canada as lands reserved to the Indians as their hunting grounds. He puts out a royal proclamation in 1763. And so here's the first Indian reserve. That's a pretty big reserve, right? And so he reserves this land for the Indians as their hunting ground. And he puts a border, a western border on these Anglo-American colonies. And so from that moment on, he is persona non grata. So this, I'm arguing, is really what the American Revolution, this is the real driving force for the American Revolution. That Ben Franklin, George Washington, these are land speculators. And of course they've got connections, and they're looking to develop these lands into real estate. You can get rich on real estate. I mean, transforming land and taking land that you get for $1 an acre and waiting until it goes up to $50 an acre still happens all the time. When the railways are built or whatever, I mean, the way you get rich is you get an inside track on where the railway is going to go, where the highway is going to go, what's going to be the next cities. So this is what I believe is the story of where the United States comes from, and why the United States, in a way, the United States in its very founding wants to withdraw itself from the British imperial law. It's seen that there's a higher law at work here. Like, why should Indians and the fur trade control land that could be used for, big towns and big farms and create well-being and wealth for, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions potentially of people? Why should that land be kept as lands reserved for the Indians as their hunting ground? Of course, it's, the hunting, lands reserved for the hunting grounds. This is Montreal's interest. How does Montreal become a world power? It's the fur trade.